I'm here with Laure, and Laure is from France. She was kind of my neighbor here in the Teja irritant-free apartments that we live in here in Bangkok. So I know a lot about her story, but I'm so filled with joy to be able to share it with everybody else because her story is unique, just like everybody else's that we get to hear from. So Laure, without further ado, I'm going to just jump right in and say, please, oh, also follow her on IG because she shares with everybody her experience, what she's learned, but in French. And so it's niche and it's unique, but it allows a lens into the Francophone community so they have access to all sorts of information as it relates to TSW. So I wanted to make sure I say that off the top. Laura, let's jump right in. Your TSW, eczema, and CAP journey, share a little bit about it, not too long, so we can just keep going.
Sure. Okay. Hi, everyone. So my name is Laure. I'm 33. I just had a baby. He's 9 months old. And my eczema, like probably a lot of people, started when I was a baby. We found a trace in my medical history. I was already on, I think it was hydrocortisone at 2 months old. So I didn't really stand a chance. I was on and off class 3 and class 2 for all of my childhood and adolescence. I can't really remember, obviously, so I asked my mother, and it was okay. It was manageable, but I was always an allergic person to a bunch of stuff I had identified, but obviously some things I had not identified. And my skin was always a problem. I had very, very dry skin. There was a lot of things I couldn't do because of the skin. And then on top of that was a couple of eczema spots, kind of always the same. So one of them was on my hand. I had the classic ones around here. And sometimes when I was in a flare, it would pop up on different areas. Not much on the face, though, but more body-wise. I was always like really uncomfortable in my skin, to be honest. And then it all kind of accelerated, let's say maybe when I started my uni years, so around 20 or 21, probably because of my lifestyle as well. So I was going out a lot, I was drinking a lot, I was not very careful with my skin. And I remember, it's very hard for me to know how much I put on, right? And that was one of Jay's questions. And it really makes you think about, your history of usage. But I do know that I would never go out nor go on vacation without probably a diprozone, which is a betamethasone. So it's class 2, unfortunately, cream on me. And I do remember something, though, is a feeling of I would put this on my skin just like I would put a moisturizer. I had no idea of how potent it was because I had lived with it all my years, right? So things were pretty much under control, except for the moments where I had flare-ups. And then probably maybe in 2017 or 16, it started to the flares started to increase. And obviously the creams I put started to work less and less. And I was going to see specialists. Obviously, they were saying, listen, this is how your sickness is going to evolve. It'll just be meaner, aggressive eczema, and you just need to put those creams on. That's the only solution. And then they offered me, obviously, Protopic, which is Elidel. And it worked really well at first. Obviously, it was a burning sensation, though. So that kind of something ticked in me. I was like, okay, this looks very aggressive because it burns my skin, but the next day I don't have anything anymore. And then this continued for probably 2 years where I was just increasing the dosage. And then I had a massive change in my life. And then I think this made my flare explode. I don't know. I went to the doctor, and this doctor once told me, you're 90% covered in eczema. Like 90% of your skin is weird and eczema and inflamed. And so he told me, okay, we're going to put you in a shock therapy. And look, the shock therapy was 1 tube of betamethasone a day for 15 days. So I think this threw me right into TSW. probably I was already in there, right? But this like gave me no choice but to be in TSW. I think I took maybe half of it, but I really felt uncomfortable. And then I met someone that had TSW, and that like I had opened the Pandora box, right? And I went on Itsen, and when I went on the Facebook groups, I understood what was happening to me. And from that day on, I went cold turkey, and that was 4.5 years ago. It was hard for me at first, obviously, because my usage was really bad. I had all the worst symptoms. I was bedridden. I was hospitalized for 3 days as well. And then it gradually went better and better after maybe a year. I was still moisturizing because I didn't understand that. And also because I couldn't cope with the no moisture, not even NMT though, just moisture withdrawal. I couldn't cope with it. Although I did for 4 months, sorry. But then as soon as I felt my skin was strong enough, I put back, and I shouldn't have, but that's life. And I did this, I went better, and then I went gradually worse again. And then it had been just hell for as long, just before I arrived and I started CAP, right? I mean, Alia, you saw me. No, actually, you didn't see me when I arrived. I saw you when you arrived, but I had already been up 6 treatments. So I was out of the
You're
really
kind of
uncomfortable
clear then.
zone.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, before CAP, after 4.5 years, I still had like open wounds everywhere. I still was, I couldn't get into a shower without having this like burning acid sensation. It hadn't always been like this, but you know, I was still at that moment sometimes when I was flaring. And also, you know, I didn't have 1/10 of the knowledge I have today, about what was happening to me and how to prevent flares and how to take care of myself. And now, well, I mean, I don't know if it shows on the camera, right?
You look you look stunning, Laure. You
Yeah,
look
I'm completely fine, you know. Okay, it's summer, so I've been to the sea, which I hadn't been in years because of my skin. I like surfing, so I went to the sea for like every day, 2 hours. My skin feels great. My only spots were the spots that were hard to get better. So around my lips here,
yeah.
and one like I used to have this everywhere. I can share
But
pictures
remind
with you.
everybody how many treatments you had before you left here.
Okay, I've had 13 treatments,
Okay.
13 weekly treatments. So because I have a kid, it was hard for me to stay longer than 3 months because my husband couldn't really join me. So we decided on 3 months. And Jay, we had discussed this with Jay. Obviously, it's not enough to be out of the TSW and completely healed, right?
Yes.
But
Yeah.
he had told me, listen, given your history, given the fact that you're already 4.5 years TSW, and given the fact that you're pretty careful with your environment and you know you can take the measures that need to be taken. In 13 treatments, he had said your skin will look normal. But you will still be in that phase where you need to be extra careful of your environment, because like this, you'll go back into a flare. So that's exactly where I am. My skin looks good. Like no one can really understand that I've had TSW, right? Except for this open wound and like probably a bit of dryness and like uneven skin, let's say. But apart from that, my skin looks really good.
And you're
But
how many days after your 13 treatments?
okay, so we are the 28th of August, and my last treatment was on the 29th of July, I think. So
Okay.
almost a month
Okay.
without. But there's just one little thing. I know that Jay said that being in the ocean and being in the sun, so soft sun, right? Like morning and afternoon sun, will really help to keep my skin at a certain level. It'll slowly decline until I do maintenance treatment, right? But this combination of skin and of a sun and salt water, at least 3 times a week, is really helping my skin actually stay to a certain level.
Excellent. Thank you. Thank you for sharing all of that. I wanted
Yep.
to ask you, I'm going to backtrack a little bit to sort of you get here, you go to your first treatment. What did you
Yeah.
learn about your case that day?
Hmm.
How long did you spend at the clinic? How did you feel? just like share that experience with us, please.
Okay, right. So I was super eager to arrive at the clinic, right? And when I arrived at the clinic, there were two things that really, really made me feel like I was in the right place. So first of all, there were two TSW warriors there. It was Shannon and Victor, and they stayed with me during my 2 hours and a half interview. Well, interview, no, like first
Consultation.
first consultation, yeah, with Jay. They were really interested, and also I could see that like they had suffered a lot as well, and they were sharing like their before and after. Obviously they were both in their journey, right? I think Shannon was 6 treatments and Victor was 8. Anyways, you know, seeing these two people, as like in 4.5 years I've met actually only 2 people that had my condition, and right there, like at that instant, I already see like two other people that are there, and I will like meet so many more. That really it hit a spot, right? It's a
Therapeutic
big thing,
to a
and
degree.
it's super therapeutic because you can talk about it, but you can also not talk about TSW, and
Yeah.
people will know. So it's really nice. It's really nice, this community. And also the fact that Jay, you know, time was running. We were talking, and I was like, oh man, will we have time enough for my treatment? Because my treatment was 2 hours and a half. So I was like, oh no, we're just chit-chatting about my case. And I was constantly asking him, like, will we be able? Don't you have to close the clinic? And he was like, no, don't worry. We're taking the time we need. If we need to close later, we'll close later. And, you know, all of this first consultation is so important for him to understand your case, but for you to also understand what's happening to you and how, and from that day, you're going to take care of yourself so that the treatment can really work. Yeah, this was like, it was so nice to be in front of someone that would listen to you, you know, and talk to you about what's happening to you. Like in 4.5 years, this never happened to me. And I've seen countless doctors. Like, so this is how I felt when I arrived. Obviously, it's not an easy consultation, because when you do the history of usage, he told me I would be in TSW for 55 years. So like, this hits you, right? I mean, this would be probably the rest of my life.
Define for
But
the
just
define for the viewers how he calculates that.
yeah, exactly. So so just bear with me. The 55 years is until I would have the skin of someone that did not put steroids. But this doesn't mean that I would be in agony for 55 years, right? So these are different phases. There are 4 phases, and you need to divide the 55 by those different phases equally, let's say. The first phase is the phase where you're really suffering. Like no matter what you do, your skin looks and feels inflamed, right? And directly the second phase is the phase I'm probably in or will soon be in with the maintenance treatment, is skin looks normal, but you're extra sensitive. So just one trigger can set you back into inflammation mode. So just so you guys understand, like it wouldn't be 55 years of hell, but it would be 10 years plus, right? Because if you divide it by 4, that would be at least 10 years plus. So this first news like really hit me, right? Because 4.5 years is already huge, being in TSW. And how he calculates this is he looks at it, it's science, right? Like he doesn't even look at what you look like right now or whatever. He just says like, listen, the one thing that we are sure about is that this all stems from your history of usage of steroids and immuno. And so he said, listen, we're going to start our calculation from there. So we calculated how much I had used, right? Mm-hmm. And obviously also the potency I had used, because just to give some estimation or like understanding, class 6 steroids is 650 times less potent than class 2 and 1. So it's exponential, right? It's not just 2 times more potent, it's 650 times, right? And I obviously had only used class 2 and class 1 steroids. So the highest, the most potent steroids. That's why it's 55 years. And also because I had used it for 30 years plus.
Thank you for your transparency on that, Laura. Like, I think for people to just hear that in plain words and to understand how that calculation occurs and to understand how many years that Jay has observed this on people. I think that it's a stark thing to hear, but it's important to understand.
Yeah, and it's hard. And that's why it's also important that when you get this news, you also have 2 hours and a half to discuss all this. And like, so he'll make you understand, where are you in that process? How do you go from one phase to another? What it will look like? And he says something that's really, really important. And that's also why, even though you don't have access to CAP, it's important to keep yourself updated. He says, listen, CAP won't heal you on its own. If you do CAP and you're not careful at home, you won't heal. Like he's really, really, it's not like injections of, of immunos or things like that, that will probably, be so strong that you can revert back to a normal life.
Yeah.
He says 50% is CAP treatment and 50% is in your hands, and it's living an irritant-free life. And to be honest, when I arrived there, I thought I was living an irritant-free life. Like it's been a while. I don't use any more cleaning products in my home. I don't use any washing products for my clothes.
Yeah.
These were like the two main things that I was very careful about. I don't put, although, yeah, maybe I would put perfume maybe once or twice when I go out. I don't really put a lot of makeup. I'm very careful. I would just like, because I'm not producing any sebum anyways, I would just wash my hair with water.
Yeah.
So I was pretty careful with anything that is like perfume, irritant, detergent, anything like this. But actually I had to be careful on a whole other level. And that's what I found out with Jay.
Yeah. So, Laure, one more question just related to CAP, and then we're going to kind of move on from there.
Yeah.
Did you start to see that first sort of, this is working, through your 13 treatments?
Okay. So this is actually a good question because I had a little bit of a meltdown at some point.
I may have been there for that. I don't know.
You were completely there. So I went to Thailand alone. Sorry. Just to tell you how good I'm doing, I had a wedding yesterday. That's why my voice is all dead. So I didn't drink, but look, my face is fine, and I had a 2-day wedding. I was just
that warms
singing.
my heart, it warms my heart because we don't go places, Laure, and you were here for all of this. And so like, I'm just so proud and happy to see that you are living freely but carefully.
Yeah, I am. Just as a side note, it took me 10 weeks to go to a mall in Bangkok. Like Alia was going crazy because I was just like this weird monk just living in my apartment and being so like careful.
Just gonna jump in there for a sec. We were on different paths because I have hardened skin. And so now that my hardened skin has reduced a lot, the TSW skin is more susceptible to flares because it's exposed. And so the rate that Laure was healing at was different than mine. I need double time because of how severe my hardened skin is. But that's the rationale behind it. So I could do more, whereas she was not. But I watched her and I learned all the things I needed to do when I would get to that amazing point. So anyways, back to you.
Sorry. So I think it was on treatment 5 or 6. My husband had just arrived and we had planned a 1-week like a getaway with our baby, and we were going to a national park, right? So nothing really fancy or anything, but it was just to get away from Bangkok and have like this feeling of maybe being on vacation, even though we weren't. It was like a 2-hour drive or something. And then like I go in for treatment 5 or 6, I don't remember. And my skin wasn't doing good because I was battling with some really bad infection on my face. And like, it wasn't healing. And I was struggling still after treatment 6. And I thought I would be doing way better by then. And I started to cry because during the session we were discussing with Clément, and he was saying, hey, listen, Laure, I know like we're supposed to leave tomorrow, but it's okay. Like you're here to heal. If you don't feel like it, if it's a danger to your healing, let's just stay in Bangkok and we'll just, watch movies and be at home. And then I started to cry because I was like, it's been 4.5 years. All my life is around this. None of the, like, there's such a small portion of my choices that are left to me, and the rest is just like coping with this and like doing all my choices of life compared to, is my skin going to be okay, and like, will I look okay, and will I feel okay, and like, still now, like, just for this simple choice of going to a national park with my husband and my baby for a week, I can't even do it because my skin is not doing well. And yeah, and I had a bit of a breakdown, and then and then obviously, you know, like your mind goes crazy. And then I was like telling Jay, I was like, listen, is it possible that I'm this like 1 in a million person for who it doesn't work? Like, because I've already had TSW, so I already won the lottery. So maybe I just win it a second time, and like CAP doesn't work, you know? Because I wasn't like, I was seeing improvements a bit, but not that much, right? So, and obviously you're always comparing yourself to people, and that's the stupidest thing you can do in TSW and during CAP treatment, because as you said at the beginning, and it's so important, every story is different, every healing journey is different. It's just, you'll get there anyways. And I was doing all the wrong things, so comparing myself. And then Jay kind of, he didn't laugh, right, but he had a little chuckle, and he was like telling my husband, because I wasn't there, Clement was asking, he was like, is this going to work for her, because she's super stressed out about this. And he chuckled and he said, listen, everyone goes through this phase. Everyone roughly at that moment thinks it's not going to work, or is afraid that, you know, you're going to be that one person that it's not going to work for. And he's like, it's going to work. Like, she's in an irritant-free environment, she's being careful. It's just, he was saying it was a good choice for you guys to not go there. He was not interfering, obviously, but since he saw that we had made that decision, he was like, yeah, she needs to stay in one place and just like let CAP do its thing.
Yeah.
And yeah, so just anyways, I think by treatment 8, probably, I had a massive turnover, a massive like turn in my healing. My difficult areas were still difficult, right? Like, I had an infection here, like bottom of my lips and upper lip.
Yeah.
That was really hard for me to get control of. But like, my hands were doing better. My hands were so bad, I couldn't even take care of my baby. I had like huge, like, I don't know how to, wound, or like open wound here.
Yeah.
I couldn't even move my hands. I was just like this. I was just like this all the time.
We'll show the photos, the before and after.
Yeah, I can send you pictures. Like, it was so bad. And yeah, I was really getting better by treatment 8, right? And I think I was looking pretty much healed. And I say looking healed, right? Because I was not healed and am not healed yet, but I was looking maybe a bit normal, let's say, by treatment 10, something like that.
Yeah.
So yeah, to anyone that says like, oh no, but they stay 3 to 6 months, so they probably heal on their own. I was already 4.5 years TSW, and in 10 weeks, I looked normal. So I'm like a living, breathing example of the fact that, yeah, this was CAP. It wasn't time. I had plenty of time to heal before, and I didn't.
I mean, I was going to ask you if CAP was integral in your healing journey, but you just answered the question.
Of course, CAP was, but it's not only CAP, it's this whole journey of meeting Jay, you know, and like learning about all this, and learning about the irritants, and, you know, being me, myself, careful, but also educating like my husband and the people that I was going to live with. This was probably the most important thing. And I say most important for me, but also for other people, because CAP is really hard to have access to. But if you implement those life hacks, let's say, or like if you live by those rules, then you're really setting a path towards the healing part. CAP is really good, but as I said, it's 50%.
Yeah. Let me ask you in closing, because I think you've shared a lot of information, a lot of good information. Do you have any like other last observations, thoughts, things that, you know, tips and tricks? You've already done a lot of that. Anything you want to say to the viewers that will watch this about your journey? 4.5 years of TSW, now 13 treatments of CAP later, feeling good. Just anything you want to share?
Yeah, of course. Okay, so already not everyone will need a CAP. I want to reassure people about this. If you're probably very careful with the irritants and the way you live, there's a high chance, if you haven't abused steroids like I have, I'm talking kilos of class 2, right? For my case, that's why it's 55 years. So it's a bit special, but you have a high chance of actually getting better on your own if you're very careful with the way you live, because you're leaving your skin to heal and you're not bothering it, right? Have you already, yeah, I'm sorry, but have you already shared like the tips and tricks about the irritants? I don't want to, say it once more, but
No, I haven't.
okay. I'm always been like very, very irritant sensitive, right? Like before TSW, always. So there's a couple of things I do, especially when I arrive. Like right here, I'm staying at my brother-in-law's house, which is not my house, obviously. And so there's a bunch of things that I do when I arrive is like, obviously I open all the windows. I'll probably mop the floor with water once. I go directly to like the laundry machine and I do 3 cycles of nothing in it because it'll just wash everything away. So don't think that you can use a laundry machine that has been used, that has had detergent in it, and just not put detergent in it with your clothes. That's not how it works. There's detergent like all over the machine. Wash it 3 times with like 1 hot cycle and then 2 low 15-minute cycles just to like rinse it off.
Yeah.
You'd be amazed. Like the thing was bubbling all over. I hadn't put anything in it, and it was already the 3rd. Do it until you see water is clean, it's clear inside, right? That's really important. I always have in my car, and with me, obviously in my car, a set of clean sheets. Because
Washed with water and physio gel.
Yeah, washed with water that I've washed. I always sleep in those. In hotels, in friends' places. At that wedding, I had bought my own sheets. Anywhere I go, I always have this. And weirdly enough, I always have, if it's not a pair of sheets, because this is pretty big to have, I always have like a small pillow sheet with me.
Yeah.
Because you never know. I never sit on fabric. Like, let me show you what I'm sitting on right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on.
Yeah.
Like this is actually a very beautiful chair. I am not sitting on it because it's fabric.
Yeah, good.
Yeah, like I still do this all the time. Every time I go out somewhere, like for example, at that wedding I was, obviously people are wearing perfume, and like it was a very it was in the middle of nowhere, so there was probably dust, and I would wash my face. I had no makeup, so I would wash my face like every 2 hours maybe, and then just like put a little bit of CJ, wait until it's all dry, and then go out again. These things I still do. I only use physio gel. I don't wash my hair. I only wash it with water. These things I still, they're hard. They're hard to do, but I still do them all the time. And
they're hard to do, but you can control them and you know what you're doing. So these are really great tips. Really,
it's very important.
Tips.
It's really important. And I think that the hardest part I found, because I was on vacation with my family and with my husband's family, was to educate others. Because you cannot ask them to live like you're living, right? So what I did was I said, hey, listen, this is how I'm living. And I explained everything. And I said, I'm not going to impose this on you. I'm just going to ask, like, will you just avoid wearing perfume when I'm around? And maybe avoid like if you want to like put anything in your hair or whatever, these things, they smell so strong, like the hair products. I said, please just like try to keep it to a minimum. And if you do wear things, like maybe try to have your hair up so it doesn't. I swear, I had a friend over and we did a surf session. I could, in the ocean, just like being next to her on my surfboard, I could smell her hair product. Like, this is insane. It's so strong. And I was just telling her, like, just keep your hair up. And it was good. Yeah, those little things. It's hard in society, right? That's the hardest. Yeah. Oh, also, right, I still have like a little spray bottle with water. Yeah. And when I'm on like a surface at a restaurant or anything like that, especially when you're in Asia, though, because they're very keen on disinfecting the surfaces. Hop, cheap sheet, and then I just cleaned clean the little area. So I'm
Yeah.
pretty sure I can just put my elbows on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, these little things, I mean, they're really, really important.
It makes such a
Um,
difference, and there's such
it
good
makes
tips.
a
And
huge
like I
difference.
know that when we put this video out, people will really appreciate them because they're very tangible. So thank you, Laura, for sharing
Yeah,
this. I
sure.
think that that draws us to a close. I'm incredibly grateful for your time, and it's just nice to catch up with you and see you again. I know
Yeah,
that things take a lot of time out of your day, so really just a pleasure and
of
just
course.
showing my gratitude because I think your story again is so unique and people fast choose steroids in such a visceral way for such a long period of time has bad
Yeah,
impacts. And so,
yeah, yeah,
yeah, thank you for
definitely. Wait, can I just add something
please.
to the moms that are going through this? I know there's a lot of moms because probably a lot of them just stop when they get pregnant and they get pregnancy and TSW, which I can't imagine. Um, my baby has no eczema and no skin issues. So also because I'm very careful with I only wash him with physio gel and his clothes are washed like mine, so only with water. But just to tell you, like he doesn't have any sign of obviously no TSW, no eczema, no nothing. He's completely fine. He had a small rash at some point. I didn't put anything on it and it just left on its own. So yeah, it's hard taking care when you have TSW, but just keep in mind that I know that was a huge fear for me. And really, I think that this whole education part and not putting any lotion, not putting any perfumes, not putting anything that would irritates like a baby's skin is a big deal in your baby not having eczema. So
Thank you. Thank you for sharing that. It's a very
mothers
good
as
point.
well.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. Okay, Laura, with that, we'll log off and
Bisous, bisous.
big hugs.
Bye, Alia.